when chaos reigns. Shutdown, layoffs, tariffs, soybeans, rare earth minerals, and frogs in Portland. Welcome to Law and Society. Barrage of news just keeps coming, right? And we are seeing the repercussions of the shutdown happening. The shutdown, and now we know that there are about 4,000 federal workers who have been laid off during the shutdown, furloughed, but they're saying laid off. Then the tariffs are pinching, and the tariffs, Donald Trump has threatened China with more tariffs, and we're going to talk about all of that. The shutdown isn't going away, and it's not going the way that Republicans want it to go. With each passing day, more and more Americans are voicing their dissent about how Republicans cannot govern. America is waking up to the horrific reality that faces us because Donald Trump's regime's actions. And, Donald Trump's reply is that the layoffs that are happening during the shutdown will be Democrat-oriented, therefore changing and politicizing an issue that goes beyond party lines, because the complaints that were made on C-SPAN to Republican leaders who were, I guess, brave or dumb enough to be on C-SPAN to take public calls, and we see that over and over again, the scolding happening from the public, and the public is rising up and waking up and realizing that their health care is going to skyrocket, that their food prices are going up, that their Medicaid is on the chopping block, that rural hospitals are giving notice that they're going to close down. Shutting the government and sort of stripping Americans of health care, and with the shutdown, paychecks for federal employees. And we're seeing that Americans are not happy with it at all. And you hear that in those C-SPAN scoldings that I've left references to in the description box. Now you have the tariffs, and the tariffs are backfiring spectacularly. Firstly, because the Court of International Trade and the Appellate Court for the Federal Circuit have ruled that Donald Trump used the wrong law, the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, in order to tariff foreign countries when that statute does not give the president the power to tariff, but rather only the power to regulate. And so that's hanging in the balance. In November, SCOTUS is going to hear about it, but I don't understand why it is taking so long for a matter that is having real repercussions on American people, on American farmers. Inflation is going up. The prices of things are going up. China, because of the tariff wars, have boycotted soybeans from America, which is spelling disaster for soybean farmers from America. And because Argentina has dropped the tax on their soybeans, China is now buying soybeans from Argentina at the same time as Donald Trump's regime bailing out Argentina at the tune of $20 billion because their economy is failing. And, there's news about some connection with Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and one of the billionaire oligarchs in Argentina. And whatever the case is, that the tariffs are creating this spiraling and this spiraling into chaos of the American economy. Not just because of the tariffs that are and the restrictions that are being made now, like China said they're going to have some restrictions on their trade of rare earth minerals with America, and in response, Donald Trump has announced that from November 4th, there will be 100% more tariffs on goods coming from China. That's going to hurt American consumers and American businesses. And that's what one of the cases about the tariffs is about. And that was the one that was in the District of Columbia, brought by toy makers. Now, the police state is also backfiring. Lower courts are holding the line. And in Portland, we have people in frog costumes standing in front of the ICE facility and having peaceful protests. In Chicago, ICE caravans are being followed by people warning their neighborhoods that ICE agents are coming. Priests and journalists have sued. Mike Johnson and Republicans start their false narratives. So now, as this is happening with the priests and the suing of the ICE, Mike Johnson and Republicans have started to create a false narrative about Antifa. Remember, because of NSPM 7, National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, that designates anybody who is anti-fascist or ascribes to Antifa, anti-fascist, an ideology, not an organization, are subject to be designated as domestic terrorists. And that is beyond anything normal that you can think about. As wide as the dragnet gets for Donald Trump to create a police state, and even the possibility of Donald Trump bringing out and federalizing the National Guard and invoking the Insurrection Act because of the No Kings protests. The No Kings protests are a peaceful protest, but the GOP is already laying the groundwork for creating a prejudice about these protests, calling them terrorists and Antifa, saying that Portland is burning down when nothing of that sort is happening, is creating this atmosphere, this false premise on which Donald Trump can say that, hey, there is enough violence for me to invoke the Insurrection Act, or for him to send in the federalized National Guard. When evidence is showing in case after case after case in court that no such thing is happening, there's no insurrection, there's no rebellion, there's no impediment to federal enforcement and their own possibilities, and that local law enforcement are capable of taking care of the responsibilities of restoring peace and balance in society. Then you jump off and you hear, I'm jumping to another topic, all of a sudden there's this hearing where Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announces that America is going to host a Qatari Air Force facility in an Air Force base in Idaho. Yes, that is a foreign country building a military base within the United States, not in the peripheries, in the heart of the United States, in a landlocked state. And all I gotta say is, man, that gift is paying off. That $400 million plane is paying off. Those deals for golfing or whatever that they have done with the Qataris are paying off. The amount of money the Qataris are spending on the Trump family is paying off at the cost of national security, at the cost of, the first time that something like that has happened. And I don't believe that the executive has that power. The power of the military, the power to declare wars, all of that, the power of the militia, all of that goes to Congress. And also how this is being carried out will have to be talked about later on once this gets going, whether there will be lawsuits or not. I hope there are about this. Then another story, we heard yesterday that Governor Janet Mills of Maine is running against Senator Susan Collins, and kudos to Governor Mills for doing that. Remember, Governor Mills was the governor who said to Donald Trump that she'll see him in court about the federal overreach into imposing anti-trans laws or anti-trans policy in states like Maine when it's not federal law, so there's no issue of, again, supremacy clause. Then you have the Peace Prize meltdown over Maria Corina Machado for getting the Peace Prize, and you heard them, butt-licking Donald Trump and everybody from Stephen Chang to Fox News cadre. They are all like, oh my God, what a big, just like the sky is falling. And, Ms. Machado did a brilliant move of calling President Trump and saying, I dedicate this prize to you because of American help in moving the agenda of the Venezuelan democratic cause. So Donald Trump can't really say anything bad about that anymore, which kind of, you'd see his ire towards the Nobel Committee, but that's not going to get anywhere. It's not going to do anything. And so with that, I wanted to give you a rundown of what is happening crazily enough. And I wanted to talk about it because all of this news just like came out in one day. Like all the way from all the hurt that's happening with the shutdown to what's happening with the tariffs, what's happening with the farmers, with the crisis of soybeans, the threat of more tariffs with China, and then the police brutality of the federal government in Portland, and then, lawsuits coming up in every state where the federal government is going. There is news that federal government has gone into Memphis as well, and I think a nominal number of 9 National Guard troops were patrolling Memphis's streets with local law enforcement. And it's worth noting that local law enforcement in a democratically elected state for elected leaders is supporting Donald Trump's regime and they're doing it in protest, but they're forced to do it because the state is not putting up a fight. And I think that's wrong. And I hope that other states stand up. And I believe that Republican governor of Vermont and a governor of Oklahoma maybe have come out and said that they are against the deployment of National Guard militias to other states. And I'm just reading now the opinion at length of Judge Perry, who ruled on the temporary restraining order stopping National Guard from deploying in the Northern District of Illinois just yesterday. And I'm sure there's going to be some important stuff that I want to talk about. And this is essentially a district court ruling that will be looked at appellate, and then as far as it goes to the appellate circuit, whether it goes to the Supreme Court or not, who knows? But the reasoning will be something that I'd be interested in a historical sense, and as well as a legal document that is dealing with the encroachment of the federal forces into state authority at the very beginning of Donald Trump starting his police state. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. pass the message on, and I appreciate it very much. I'll talk to you soon.